the 7th chapter because I want to.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Haribol. Jai Siparikashi Shri Guru Gaur Chandraju ki Jai. Jai Shri Giriraj Govardhanju ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupai Paramhamsa Pari Brajakacharya Astatara Satashi Shiman Srila Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Is it working? Can you hear in the kitchen? Oh. Jai Om Vishnupai Paramhamsa Pari Brajakacharya Astatara Satashi Shiman Srila Bhakti Rakak Sri Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Haribol. Welcome to Sri Caitanya SCSMission morning class. Dandavat. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Chita Parakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitangstam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitangscha Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Ribo. All right. Sri Caitanya Charitamrta Madhya Lila, Volume 5. We're now reading Chapter 25, How All the Residents of Varanasi Became Vaishnavas. So, as Damodar Prabhu was saying this morning, how we've read so many instructions by Mahaprabhu to Srila Sanatana Goswami over the last several chapters, including a full 61 different revelations from the words and syllables of the Atmarama verse. And now we've come to now Srila Sanatana Goswami is ordered by Mahaprabhu. Does anybody remember Mahaprabhu's order to Srila Sanatana Goswami what he should be doing? And the last part of the last chapter was describing many things that Mahaprabhu wanted Srila Sanatana Goswami to include in his instructions given in books. He wanted Mahaprabhu to describe how to practice Krishna consciousness in so many different ways. Puja, all the different kinds of personal characteristics that a devotee should try to cultivate, different things that he should definitely try to avoid, and so many points of Siddhanta. And now, so Srila Sanatana Goswami here, he became a mendicant, even though he was an incredibly wealthy person and very high prestige in the government. But this was never something very happy for him, that he and Rupa Goswami, his younger brother, were pressed into service due to their incredibly famous qualifications of intelligence and so on. But he very easily left that, and he became like a beggar in Vrindavan and completely absorbed in fulfilling the desires of Mahaprabhu by writing all of these books on the practice of Krishna consciousness. All right. Thus I have explained the mercy bestowed upon Sanatana Goswami by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If one hears this description, all moroseness in the heart will diminish. By reading these instructions to Sanatana Goswami, one will become fully aware of Lord Krishna's various expansions in the first chapters which were in volume 24. Volume 4. For the process of devotional service according to the regulated principles of spontaneous love. And thus everything can be fully known. By reading these instructions, a pure devotee can have love of Krishna, the mellows of devotional service, and the conclusions of devotional service. Everyone can understand all these things to their ultimate end simply by in studying these instructions to Srila Sanatana Goswami given in these chapters. The conclusion of these instructions can be known to one whose life and soul is the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and Advaita Prabhu. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Caitanya Charitamrta, following in their footsteps. So these are the concluding verses written by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj, concluding these instructions by Mahaprabhu to Sanatana Goswami. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. Now chapter 25. How all the residents of Varanasi became Vaishnavas. And this is a very, one would wonder, well, why particularly Varanasi? Wherever Mahaprabhu went, of course, his influence was so extraordinary. But the residents of Varanasi were almost all Mayavadis. Varanasi was full of the followers of Shankaracharya, especially the sannyasis. Many took shelter there, and the people, of course, were very much influenced by them. The following is a summary of chapter 25. A Maharashtrian Brahmin who was living in Benares was a great devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was always very happy to hear the glories of the Lord, and it was by his arrangement that all the sannyasis of Varanasi became devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is what we will read now about this. I'm sorry. He invited the sannyasis to his house to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and this incident has been described in the 7th chapter of the Adi Lila. From that day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became famous in the city of Varanasi, and many important men in that city became his followers. By and by, one of the disciples of the great sannyasi Prakashananda Saraswati became devoted to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and this devotee explained Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Prakashananda Saraswati and supported his views with various arguments. One day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to take his bath at Panchanda, and afterward all his devotees began chanting the Hare Krishna mantra in front of the temple of Bindu Madhava. At this time, Prakashananda Saraswati and all his devotees approached the Lord. Prakashananda Saraswati immediately fell down at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and very much regretted his past behavior toward the Lord. He asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about devotional service in terms of the Vedanta Sutra, and the Lord told him about devotional service that is approved by the great personalities who know the Vedanta Sutra. So who here knows what the Vedanta Sutra is? Anybody?
After he wrote the Vedas, then he wrote the Vedanta Sutra.
Exactly. So Vedavyas compiled all the Vedas. Before, the Vedas were known by word of mouth because people could remember things in other ages. But but they weren't organized. It was just these sutra was known by these things, and different authorities on the Vedas would be authorities on the different Veda also. The Rig Veda and the Atharva Veda, and there's so many actually. But, and the Upanishads, and so many things. But then he organized everything, and he, as a synopsis of the whole thing, because who's going to have time to read all the Vedas? But as a especially in Kali Yuga, we don't live long enough to even. Well, anyway, so he wrote a synopsis, but that is very difficult to read. So everybody and their uncle had a interpretation of the Vedanta. And all of there's a big history about this. And every sampradaya which was recognized also had their bhasya, or their commentary, on the Vedanta Sutra, otherwise they wouldn't be recognized. So Shankaracharya wrote his bhasya on the Vedanta Sutra, which is the Mayavad philosophy. And it's completely unauthorized. For those who really know grammar, and that certainly isn't me, but Mahaprabhu was famous as a grammarian. And there's a reason for that. Because without grammar, we can't understand what anyone is saying, right? We can just say anything, it could mean anything. But following the laws of grammar, this is how we know how to speak to one another and convey an idea. But Shankaracharya completely ignored the laws of grammar and just made his own interpretation on what the Vedanta Sutra is saying, and it doesn't say that. And anyone who's intelligent enough can say, no, that's not actually, you're saying it means something that it's not actually saying. Right? So this is very fascinating because Mahaprabhu established himself as an absolute authority on grammar, which was very boring to the devotees in Navadvip. But no one could, say that he doesn't know what he's talking about. And so, he established himself as a famous scholar before he began his Sankirtan. And that was his merciful. It's another example of his merciful nature, that he could stand with anyone who had a misinterpretation or misunderstanding of the Veda and prove that they're not understanding things correctly. So this was one point here. So the Vedanta Sutra, when Mahaprabhu met Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya gave his interpretations, and then Mahaprabhu says, I don't understand what you're saying, but the Vedanta Sutra is easy to understand. It's like it's just saying what it's saying, but what you're saying, I don't understand at all. So these are very, very interesting features of Mahaprabhu's pastimes.
I think also that was also because there's so many in Sanskrit, can be so many interpretations of each word or meanings.
Yeah.
So unless one properly can take those out, it can be misconstrued easily.
Yeah, but those have to be following still some authoritative, like for example, it's a really good point. And when what Brajamohini Didi is saying, that Sanskrit is really difficult. I mean, you have to be very scholarly to really not fall into misinterpretation, because each word can be interpreted in so many ways but there are certain laws about how that will be done so that misinterpretation can't come out. So the whole time we've been reading these explanations of the Atmarama verse, Mahaprabhu is quoting the authoritative books on grammar. So this is a real, and it's not easy going reading that. Those verses describing the different interpretations of the Atmarama verse. You have to go, for us who are not Sanskrit scholars, it is just fascinating how Mahaprabhu is just saying all these different wonderful things about these different words. But it's all authoritative. So, yeah. And of course anyone in the material world can find a way to to believe something that's not true, as we all have experienced with ourselves. But, if somebody is sincere, those things are also there. And arguably so. So now, Prakashananda Saraswati Thakur has come to Mahaprabhu by and by, one of the disciples of the great, one day Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to take his bath, and at that time Prakashananda Saraswati fell down at the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu and very much regretted his behavior toward the Lord. He asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about devotional service in terms of the Vedanta Sutra, because they're obsessed with Vedanta Sutra. They're not accepting Vyasadev's own commentary, which is the Srimad Bhagavatam, his own conclusion. But because of the influence of Shankaracharya, they're just... And the Lord told him about devotional service that is approved by the great personalities who know the Vedanta Sutra. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then pointed out that Srimad Bhagavatam is the proper commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. He then explained the Chatu Shloki, the 4 shlokas of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the essence of that great scripture. Does anybody know? So the Chatu Shloki were given to Vedavyas as the seed of the Srimad Bhagavatam by Narada Muni. And then, of course, Srila Guru Maharaj says, Vedavyas never what do you want to say? Never made a thought. Like our mind is like a factory of thoughts. He didn't produce thoughts. He was downloading from the upper plane. So what those seed verses of the Bhagavatam were then, an ocean came to expand those things, but that was all coming down and being revealed by Vedavyas. In the same way that Mahaprabhu told both Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, I've given you the gist, now you expand this. And Krishna will do this. Because Sanatana Goswami is saying, I'm not qualified, how am I going to, I don't know, I'm just a fallen soul. And Mahaprabhu was like, you start this work, Krishna will write through you. So this is that qualification of those kinds of personalities. And so now Mahaprabhu was explaining those 4 seed shlokas to Prakashananda Saraswati Thakur in Varanasi. From that day on, all the sannyasis of Varanasi became devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Before returning to his headquarters at Jagannath Puri, the Lord advised Sanatana Goswami to go to Vrindavan. The Lord then departed for Jagannath Puri. Kaviraj Goswami then described something about Srila Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and Subudhi Rai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to Jagannath Puri through the great forest of Jharikanda in central India. At the end of this chapter, Kaviraj Goswami sums up the incidents of the Madhya Lila and instructs every living being to read the sublime book of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. So that is our introduction. I think that at the end of every chapter, I want to go back and read the introduction again, just to remind us of all the different things we've read in these chapters. It's so easy for us to forget things, and for me anyway. Any questions or comments about any of that? So this is the introduction to this chapter and a summary of the things we're going to be reading. Hari Bol, Jai Text 1. Vaishnavi Kritya Sanyasi Mukhan Kashi Nivashina Sanatanam Susanskritya Prabhu Niladrimagamat. After converting into Vaishnavas all the residents of Varanasi who were headed by the sannyasis, and after completely educating and instructing Sanatana Goswami there, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to Jagannath Puri. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Lord Chaitanya, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Eimat Mahaprabhu duimash paryanta, shikahila tare bhakti siddhantera anta. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Sri Sanatana Goswami in all the conclusions of devotional service for 2 consecutive months. Paramananda Kirtaniya Sakarera Sangi Prabhure Kirtana Shunaya Atibadarangi. 2 months. For as long as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Varanasi, Paramananda Kirtaniya, who was a friend of Chandrasekhar, chanted the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and other songs to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a very humorous way. So this is Paramananda Kirtaniya. Sanyasira Gana Prabhure Jade Upekshila Bhakta Dukkha Kandaite Tare Kripa Kaila. When the Mayavadi sannyasis of Varanasi criticized Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord's devotees became very much depressed. To satisfy them, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed his mercy to the sannyasis. Sannyasire kripa purve likiya chon vastariya ude shekahiye iha shakshepa kariya. In the 7th chapter of the Adi Lila, I have already elaborately described Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's deliverance of the sannyasis at Varanasi, but I shall briefly repeat it in this chapter. Jaha taha prabhura ninda kare sannyasira gana shuni duke maharastriya pipra karai chintana. When the Mayavadi sannyasis were criticizing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu anywhere and everywhere in Varanasi, the Maharashtrian Brahmin, hearing this blasphemy, began to think about this unhappily. So they were very envious of Mahaprabhu and they really enjoyed criticizing him. His influence was astounding. I kept hearing this word influence in Caitanya Charitamrta. So I started we've heard so many things about the pastimes of Mahaprabhu, and then it just occurred to me, like if some beautiful personality suddenly appeared in a great big football stadium with how many thousands of people, and started chanting, and the whole football stadium started chanting and crying and hugging each other and going home to their towns and whatever, and influencing everyone else. That was what Mahaprabhu was doing. Everywhere, crowds of thousands and thousands of people would suddenly be overwhelmed with love of Krishna. It's hard to believe it, but every single one of those persons would go to their village, and their whole village would be crying. And, like we've seen it with Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj and Gurudev, especially, who had come out of India, Gurudev and Srila. I remember in an airport, it was in San Francisco, and Srila Gurudev was leaving. And suddenly all these people just crowded around. We were making a little scene because there were a lot of devotees and we were all a little emotional, But these people all came and they were just staring at Gurudev. And Gurudev stood up and started hugging every one of them. And they were hugging him back. It was so amazing to me. And we saw it so many times. That Rath Yatra in Chicago, the first Rath Yatra ever in Chicago. And there were thousands of people. The whole State Street was just people walking from Chicago. And Srila Gurudev, Prabhupada was sitting on Lady Subhadra's throne. And the people were like, Prabhupada started throwing Mahaprasad into the crowd, and people were like taking it and eating it and chanting and dancing. It was unreal, really unbelievable. So there, Mahaprabhu had this kind of influence, but the Mayavadi sannyasis couldn't They just wanted to say, oh, we're so far above that. This is all sentimental nonsense. Everything is just illusion. This is Mayavad. Everything is Maya. Ultimately, there's just, nothing, no form, no substance, nothing to talk about and no one to talk about it. So when the Mayavadi sannyasis were criticizing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu anywhere and everywhere in Varanasi, the Maharashtrian Brahmin, hearing this blasphemy, began to think about this unhappily. Prabhura swabhava jeba deki sanidane swarupa anubhave tare ishvara karimane. The Maharashtrian Brahmin thought, whoever closely sees the characteristics of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately realizes his personality and accepts him as the Supreme Lord. This is his influence. But they're not seeing him. They're just hearing about him. And they're like, nonsense person. He's not even initiated into a high class sannyas order. They had all this nonsense. Kona prakashe parunjare ekachakarite ihadeki sannyasi gana habe inhara bhakte. If by some means I can assemble all the sannyasis together, they will certainly become his devotees after seeing his personal characteristics. If one saw the personal characteristics and activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one would certainly be convinced that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can ascertain this by following in the footsteps of the Shastric injunctions. This sincere study and appreciation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also applicable to his authorized devotees, and it is clearly stated in Caitanya Charitamrta. So Srila Prabhupada's purport, he's saying, Kali Kalera Dharma Krishna Nama Sankirtana Krishna Shakti Bina Nahe Tara Pravartana. In this age of Kali, real religious propaganda should induce people to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. If one is religious, and if he really, really understands this position of Kali Yuga, and what is the highest attainment possible for any living being at any time, but very available in Kali Yuga, he must chant about this. He must teach people about this. This is possible for someone who is especially empowered by Krishna. No one can do this without being especially favored by Krishna. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments in this regard in his Anubhasya, wherein he quotes a verse from the Narayan Samhita. So, of course, this is our great Vaishnava acharyas. And they were all so influential. Dvapariya Janer Vishnu Pancharatrais Kevalai Kalautu Nama Matrena Pujate Bhagavan Hari. In Dwapar Yuga, devotees of Lord Vishnu and Krishna rendered devotional service according to the principles of the Pancharatra. So this deity worship, the temple worship, is described in the Pancharatra. And it is, we're also have some temple worship, but it is a little different mood. We can't really follow those principles, so they're very strict. In this age of Kali, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped simply by chanting the holy names. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur then comments, without being empowered by the direct potency of Lord Krishna to fulfill his desire, and without being specifically favored by the Lord, no human being can become the spiritual master of the whole world. And Srila Saraswati Thakur is saying this because everybody and their uncle was, making a shop and becoming a guru without any authorization whatsoever. This is not so easy. And everybody's calling everybody Jagat Guru and this and that. But there's nothing backing that. And anyone who's been to India can nod their head. They're all with their curly hair and the big sitting on a lotus seed and everything else. And with all due respect, that is not a serious thing. So we're so fortunate that our great gurus are delineating these things for us. Otherwise, it is so easy to be caught. We're like little frogs, and there's a lot of snakes around who can devour everyone. He certainly cannot succeed by mental concoction, which is not meant for devotees or religious people. Only an empowered personality can distribute the holy name of the Lord and enjoin all fallen souls to worship Krishna. By distributing the holy name of the Lord, he cleanses the hearts of the most fallen people. Therefore, he extinguishes the blazing fire of the material world. So how can you tell? What are they teaching, and what is the result of that? And what are their practices, and who are they connected with primarily? Not only that, he broadcasts the shining brightness of Krishna's effulgence throughout the world. Such an acharya or spiritual master should be considered non-different from Krishna. That is, he should be considered the incarnation of the Lord's potency. Such a personality is Krishna Lingita Vigraha. That is, he is always embraced by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Such a person is above the considerations of the Varnashram institution. He is the guru or spiritual master for the entire world, a devotee on the topmost platform, the Maha Bhagavata stage, and a Paramahansa Thakur, a spiritual form only fit to be addressed as Paramahansa or Thakur. Nonetheless, there are many people who are just like owls and never open their eyes to see the sunshine. These owlish personalities, who are inferior even to the Mayavadi sannyasis, cannot see the brilliance of Krishna's favor upon the Mahabhagavat devotee. They are prepared to criticize the person engaging in distributing the holy name all over the world and following in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who wanted Krishna consciousness preached in every town and city. So, Srila Prabhupada is referring to Srila Saraswati Thakur here, because Srila Prabhupada was criticized very vehemently by many because he came and preached Krishna consciousness to the people of the West, gave Brahman initiation, and engaged them in the service of the deity. But Srila Prabhupada, because he is following the order of Srila Saraswati Thakur, this is directly criticizing of Saraswati Thakur. And this is intolerable to Prabhupada. So he preached about this very, very strongly. All right. Any questions or comments about any of this? Hari-o. Jai. Now we are beginning to read Shri Upadeshamrita Jai. Sri Caitanya Charitamrta ki Jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj ki Jai. Srila Om Vishnupad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. So I would like to start a little program where we are memorizing one of these verses a week. Does anybody feel on it? I mean, it's not, of course, compulsory. But I think that we should all learn these verses of the Upadeshamrita. And you guys are young, you have good memories still. But if we don't exercise, what happens to our muscles? They get weak. A+. But it's the same with the brain. Everybody should use their brain for memorizing. Maybe someone may not like to memorize things, But it is really, really nice when you're speaking to someone to be able to say a verse. It really is. And even people who don't know the scriptures at all, and they don't have like faith in them or anything, by hearing these verses in Sanskrit, they really can feel something. And especially the Brahma Samhita. It's so beautiful. Then if you say, you know, in the oldest book in the world, it says, Chintamani Prakara Sadmasu, and they're like, oh, that is, you know, it has its own potency. But this is also for our own practicing, to remember these, just there are only 11 verses, so that it's not that much. But let's chant these together. Maybe I'll print these out today, so everybody has a copy of all of them, of the 11 verses, and the transliterations are here, which is really helpful, and the translations. So on page 30 of Upadeshamrita, Vacho vegam manasakroda vegam jiva vegam udarapasta vegam etan veganyo vishaheta dhira sarvam api mang pritiving sasishyat. The urge of speech. So what is vegam?
Speaking.
Huh?
Oh, here?
Vegam.
Speaking.
So vacho vegam, manasa vegam, kroda vegam, udarapasta vegam. No, but vegam is repeated. It means urge. It means the urge. And nobody's going to go, what's an urge? Practically, you know, little battery machines, and that battery is urges. We're like moving around. So vacho vegam is?
The urge to speak.
Yes, the urge to speak. So that doesn't mean we're not going to speak anymore. But the urge to speak things which are not to be said at the time, or not helpful for our consciousness. That doesn't mean we don't joke around or we don't this and that. There's many things we can say. But when it's an urge and it's at the wrong time, the wrong subject, or a subject which is really full of ignorance, then we have to control that. Then manasa vegam, the urges of the mind. Oh my God. What is the mind doing all day long? It's like a ghost. Udara and upasta. These are two. And they're... Udar means the stomach, the belly. And upasta means the genitals, those vegams. Then etan vegam, all of these vegam, yovishaheta dhira. Dhira means sober. Sarvam apimam pritiving sasishyat. It means that he can become the instructor of the world. One who is dhira. Dhira means sober. He's not just pushed around by this and that, but he's sober. He has a central connection with reality, and he's a sober person. Then, if someone becomes like this, he can instruct the whole world. He can become the teacher of the world. And Srila Guru Maharaj is saying that. Oh, no, this is another thing. I'll bring that up later. Then the second verse. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha lolyancha sadbir bhaktir binashiti. So there's two words in here that'll help you remember this word. One is nash. Nash means, have you ever heard that from the Bible? There was a great gnashing of teeth. You know, when somebody's really lamenting, they're like, gnashing their teeth, grinding their teeth. So nash, you can remember that, it means destroy. So that's one word that will help you. And prajalpa. Prajalpa means talking, unnecessary talking. You know, blah, 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 on any subject that just pops into the mind. I saw a play once, long time ago, and it was a play written by some American guy. Anyway, it was a school thing. We went there, and I remember this one comment. This one character in the play was just really talkative, blah, 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 blah. And another character says, he's just like a box of cards. You just shake him up, and whatever falls out, it just comes out of his mouth. He doesn't go, well, what should I say, that or not? Is that what we're talking? Anything. At least whatever it is, it just falls out of his mouth. So we don't want to be that person who every thought just falls out of our mouth. So these are the things which nash. These things which are being listed in the second verse are the things which destroy bhakti. Bhakti vinashiti. So overaccumulation. Who was talking the other day? It was at the Wednesday Gita class. And Sudarshan was talking about, how the more one accumulates, well, he was telling the story about, I'm forgetting the story now, but it was about a person who became super wealthy, and he couldn't bear to be asked for anything. He could not stand. Do you remember that story?
That was Jayadev.
Oh, it was Jayadev. What was the story?
Yeah.
It was,
Oh, it was the boss of his father. Jayadev was telling about the boss of his father, and he had this thing in place so that I totally remember now. He became very, 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 very wealthy. Like a really super wealthy man. And the thing he hated the most was writing out the checks to his employees. It was like hell for him to give any of it. So this is over-accumulation. We become so attached to the things that we have that are unnecessary for us. And I mean, that's an extreme example. But we become the slave of that thing, right? We just have so much stuff that we did all day long, we're just maintaining that. So over-accumulation, over-endeavor, doing things that are requiring so much endeavor by us that are, that they're taking all of our energy. That doesn't mean we don't work hard. I mean, we all live in the temple only to serve. But when in the ordinary life there is an over endeavor for something, it can take away you can take away your life. Unnecessary talk. Misappropriation of rules. So, too much attachment to rules, too much detachment from rules. Just a misunderstanding and application of rules. Association with non-devotees, big one. And fickleness. I believe this, no, I don't believe that anymore, I believe that. Well, no, I really do believe that. Nah, I don't. Yeah, I'm going to do it. Nah, I'm not going to do it. Bhakti is destroyed by these 6 faults. So we're all battling with these. And it doesn't mean either that we don't have conversations with each other, some funny interaction of things. But we be careful about the subject, that it's not degrading. Degrading thought should be stopped. And talks about praising gross materialistic people also. If we can take an example of something anybody has said that can be applied to devotional life, that's fine. But to praise people for their mundane attributes and gross behavior, this is also prajalpa. So we are trying to be friendly in our talking, so that those who are hearing us will get some nourishment, and it's wholesome, right?
Yes.
It makes a big difference, doesn't it? It makes a big difference to us. So this is Rupa Goswami giving these verses, saying, be careful about this. This will make you degraded. Then the third verse, Utsahan nishchaya dhairya tat karma pravartanat shangatyagat sato vitte sadbir bhakti prasiddhiti. Enthusiasm, utsahan, utsava. You know how we always say mahotsava? That means a festival. So utsahan means enthusiasm. Nishchayad, conviction. Perseverance is dharyat, dhira. Tat karma pravartanat means engaged in those activities which have been given to us, which are favorable. And shangatyagat. So in the second verse, he's saying these are the things that destroy devotion, means bad association. And here, what is helpful to devotion is giving up bad association. So he's giving us this twice. And following the conduct of the sadhus, sadhbir, sangha tyaga, and then sato vitte, following the sadhus. Bhakti is nourished by these 6 qualities. Harivo, sato vitte, sadbir bhakti prasiddhiti. So, utsahan, we could remember enthusiasm. And then prasiddhiti, I always think proceed. It helps us to proceed. So these are, it is nourished. It's nourished. Bhakti is nourished by these. Should we go over them again? Enthusiasm, conviction. That means don't let your mind just think this and that. Perseverance, engaging in favorable activities has been given to us by our gurus, giving up bad association, and following the conduct of the sadhus. So that's verse number 3, and it is what is favorable to devotion. Okay? Any questions about those? They're very nice. It's another little poster for our prasadam room. Gonna be like poster room. Tadati pratigrahnati guhyam akyati pritchati bhunkte bo jayate chaiva sadvidang priti lakshanam. Giving and accepting gifts. Discussing and inquiring about confidential matters. Confidential means matters about siddhanta, and also confidential meaning how I am proceeding in my spiritual life and what advice we can give to one another. Giving and partaking of prasadam, foodstuffs. Giving that and accepting that. These are the 6 characteristics of affection between devotees. So the first 2 are giving gifts and
Accepting gifts.
yeah. And then the second 2 are discussing and inquiring about confidential matters. And we all know about these things. We said, can I talk to you about this thing? Because I heard this, and then I heard that, and I don't understand. So, all the time in prasadam, we're always talking about these kind of things, right? And also, I'm having some difficulty with this and that, and this thing is happening, and can you help me with these things? Giving and partaking of foods. Damodar Prabhu knows all about that. In fact, everyone here knows. Everybody has their own particular mood of cooking, and what they've offered to the Lord, and then they're serving that. And then the devotees are accepting that, and that's like a big festival every single day here, and in all of our temples, isn't it? It's a very nice thing. And to be able to cook with devotion to the Lord, and then give that to the devotees. That is really a sweet element of the temple. And the devotees are taking that and very happy. No one's criticizing prasadam. It may not be even to their taste or to their health, but respectfully, they're taking that or honoring that prasadam. No one will criticize prasadam. That is not good for us to do at all. All right, so that is number 4. Okay, and number 5, we'll just do one more. Because we'll go to 5 today. And if you guys, if we can print these out, I can send, I can send something and we can have our own little copy of these pages particularly, because there is the word-for-word translation. And I think that's really helpful. So everyone can bring these to the classes, right? And we'll just chant them every single day, all 11 of them. Krishneti asya giritang manasadriyeta dikshasti chet pranati bischa bhajantamisham. I'm very rusty, I admit it. I did memorize these and I don't remember them now. So I have to start chanting them regularly again. Shushrishaya bhajana vigyam mananyamanya nindati shunya hridam ipsita shangalabhya. This is our relationship with others. And this is the first thing. Honor within your mind those who chant Krishna's name. They may be of any kind of character or understanding or anything, but within your mind you're giving them honor because they chanted the Lord's name. That's from a distance. That's within your mind. Honor with obeisances those who are initiated and serve the Lord. And honor with service those who are expert in bhajan, exclusive and at heart free from criticizing others. That means that they have no envy. Those who have come to the position of non-envy and who are expert in bhajan. Expert doesn't mean a good singer. It means bhajan means to worship. Their bhajan is full of worship. And they're exclusive. They're not fickle at all. And their heart, they've come to a platform where they have no envy of others. Then know them to be the most desirable association. Isn't that amazing? 5 verses and covered so many things. All right, so we can stop here. Jai Srila Rupa Goswami Pad Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Upadeshamrita Ki Jai. So, Haridev Prabhu, we can maybe do that today. I can send you those for printing. Are you okay?
We could go over that first because you have asked me to print so many other things. So we could make priorities. Otherwise, we're not going to print anything.
Oh. I mean, this is printing.
With a beautiful design.
Yes, this is true. That's a good point. Okay, so let's make this one for today a priority because we're now studying this book. And then we'll do the 10 offenses. I've also made a list. And also the namabas. That's going to be one. And then the checklist for the morning puja. And the whole puja. I mean, we have these already, but I want them reprinted so we can just have them nicely laminated and everything. Those are the only ones right now, but then we're going to redo that other one.
Okay. Yeah, it's an important seva, and for that we should give all of our attention to it, because so far it will be just
yes.
not all the attention. So I don't know how we're gonna do it.
Well, I'm sorry, what was that?
So I didn't know which one.
Which
is
one to start with?
priority, how-
Yes, totally. Totally.
All the details.
Yeah. Jai. And my feeling about is that together, to chant these things together, on a regular basis is very good association. And it's really nice to do it, right? Otherwise, what is our day? It becomes a little, we have to engage our mind and all these things together. Like imagine sitting down, sitting down together and chanting the whole Upadeshamrita, Prashanam, something like that. All these things are really, really nice. Or especially when you have a friend who's also very interested in that. You become a competition. Competition is good. Srila Prabhupada liked competition very much. He said competition gives life. Hari Hari Namo Krishna Yadavaya Giriraj Govardhanju ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacarya. Astu Terasa Shri Shriman Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacarya. Astu Terasa Shri Shriman Srila Bhakti Rakak Sri Dardev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Shri Caitanya Charitamrta Acharya Vrinda ki jai. Shri Sad Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Srimati Dasi Devi ki jai. Saparshad Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai. What does Saparshad mean?
With his associates.
With his associate. Saparshad Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. They're slapping cobras. I mean, this is so wonderful to hear about them. They're so great. They're so powerful. All of Nityananda Prabhu's followers are powerful cowherd boys. You know? They're just wandering in the jungles and riding on tigers, but their hearts are melting with love. I mean, it's such a wonderful, they're all so wonderful personalities. Very brilliant. Oh my God. Jai. Okay. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai. Chaitanya Saraswat Mission ki jai. Come on, let's have a jai from the kitchen. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki. All right. Hari Bol. Kol Kartal ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Samaveda Vaishnava Mandala ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Bhakta Vrinda means all the devotees. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Bol. Jai. Ki jai.
Bhakti Bhoni Bimal Krishna are present.
Thank God.